friends, it's Miss Drywa. We're still talking about long division today. This whole week we're talking about long division, but with a remainder. And remember, that just means that when we get all the way to the bottom of our problem, we do all that work. If there's not a zero, it's okay. We just have a remainder now, and we have to bring him up top to be with our answer. That's really it. We're still practicing with our long division family, right? They're going to help us get through all the steps, because there are a lot of steps, and I know sometimes we have to do them 2 or 3 times in a problem. There's a reason it's called long division. It's very long. But that's okay. So we'll continue working on this week because practice makes perfect, friends, and you're all doing an amazing job. And then next week we'll start fractions, and we'll continue working on fractions throughout this rest of the summer. All right, so let's get started so we can do our problem together. So, sorry, friends. So we are working on long division, right? We have our family to help us, our division steps. Divide, dad, multiply, mom, subtract, sister, bring down, brother, repeat, rover. Right? So dad tells us to divide. Mom tells us to multiply. Sister tells us to subtract. Brother tells us to bring down. And rover tells us to repeat, start all over again. So I have here, basically it's very similar to your worksheets that you're working on, right? I have my problem, my multiples of 7, because that's the number that we're dividing by, and I have my long division family here to help me, right? So let's get started. So remember, our bigger number, right, our dividend, is on the inside of the house, and our divisor wants to get in. Right? He's our smaller number. And it's our job to figure out how many times does this 7 go into 986. So, when we start, he is going to knock on the door, and the first number he sees is 9, right? So now we're going to focus on to see if 7 can go into 9. And remember, if that first number is bigger than our divisor, then we can work on it. If it's smaller, then we have to make bring the next number in. But 9 is bigger than 7, so we can go ahead and see how many times 7 goes into 9. So that's our first step now. We're going to divide. Dad tells us to divide. We have to see how many times 7 goes into 9 without going over. That's the important rule. So I go to my multiples and I see 7, 14, and I stop. 14 is bigger than 9, so I went too far. So I go back to 7. But I have to count until I get to that 7 to find out how many times does 7 go into 7. Well, if I count 1, I'm at 7. So my answer in this case is 1. I divided. 7 goes into 9 without going over 1 time. Right? Now, Mom tells me to multiply. So now I do 1 times 7, and we know that any number times 1 is always that other number. So I know 1 times 7, or 7 times 1, is going to give me 7. Okay? Now, sister tells us to subtract. So now I see my subtraction sign. It's already there for me. I do 9 minus 7. And if I count down with touch points, I know 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So I subtracted, and I got my answer of 2. Now we're not done because we still have the 8 and the 6 we have to try and figure out. So brother tells us to bring down. So I look at my next number, which is an 8, and I bring it down. So I follow the arrow and I bring my 8 down. Now I have a new number of 28. And Rover tells me to repeat. So now I have to repeat the steps all over again, but this time I'm going to see how many times 7 goes into 28. So I start with dividing, and I go to my multiples to see how many times 7 goes into 28 without going over. So I look, 7, 14, 21, 28. There it is. So how many times did I go down my multiples? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. So I take that 4 and I put it up here, right? And now I go to Mom and she says, you need to multiply. So I take 4 times 7. And 4 times 7, friends, we have our multiplication facts memorized, equals 28, right? I can just count 1, 2, 3, 4. So I write 28. Okay, so now Mom told me to multiply. Now Sister tells me to subtract. So now I'm subtracting 28 minus 28. And we're going to get 8 minus 8 equals 0. We're going to put that there. And 2 minus 2 equals 0. We don't need to put that one there, though. So I subtracted. Now I know I have a 0, but I'm not done yet because I have this 6 here that I have to bring down. Brother tells me to bring him down. So 6 comes all the way down. And now I have 6. That's it, right? A 0 in front of a whole number doesn't count. So I just have 6. So now, can 7 go into 6? Remember what I said up here about the 9? I said if this number on the inside is bigger than the number on the outside, it can't happen. And I don't have any other numbers here. So if I say, no, 7 cannot go into this number, I have to put a 0. Okay? So if I say to myself, can 7 go into 6? Or if this number go into this number, and if the answer is no, then I have to put a 0. Right? So no and 0, they kind of sound the same. So if I tell myself no, I have to put a 0. And then we just continue the steps like normal. So now Mom tells us to multiply. We couldn't really divide. It couldn't happen, so we put a 0. Sorry, Dad. But we keep going, and Mom tells us to multiply. And 0 times 7, well, any number times 0 is going to always equal 0. Right? So I multiplied, I got 0. Now I subtract. Sister tells me to subtract, and I do 6 minus 0. Well, we all know that any number, take away nothing, is going to give us that same number. So I subtracted. Now Brother tells me to bring down. There are no more numbers to bring down. And now Rover, instead of being repeat, he reminds us. He's remainder. So I take this 6 and I bring him up here. And my answer now becomes 140 remainder 6. So 986 divided by 7 equals 140 remainder 6. All right, so clear that, make myself bigger. Okay, so I know it's a lot, friends. Again, it's called long division because it's very long and there are a lot of steps, but this is why we're here. This is why we're practicing. And like I told you last week, you do this again in 5th grade. Just like you did multiplication in 3rd grade, we did it again in 4th grade. Long division, we're doing it in 4th grade, and then you spend a lot of time on it in 5th grade also. Okay? So you're all doing amazing. Keep up the great work. Keep trying your best. That's all anyone is asking for. I know it's hard just because division is hard, and some of my friends find multiplication hard, and then we also have subtraction in there, right? So we've got 3 of our operations in one problem. That's a lot. But you guys are doing it, and you're doing an amazing job. And I'm so proud of you. All right, so keep up the great work, my lovely friends. And until tomorrow, bye.